and welcome. I'm trying to learn cytology. Today, endocytosis, and after we've done that, we're going to do neck stretching. And if you participate in the neck stretching, then it's already on this. And this is part 2 to the endocytosis. Now, first happens the binding. On the extracellular side of the plasma membrane, a ligand binds to a specific receptor to form a receptor-ligand complex. So the ligand comes to the receptor standing where it is not there. The receptors are integral membrane proteins that are concentrated in specific regions of the plasma membrane called clefrin-coated pits because the membrane is leaned on its cytoplasmic side by a peripheral protein called clefrin. Where's the receptor standing? Integral going through the plasma membrane. Integral membrane through plasma membrane. The ligand comes to it and they are all standing together in a so-called clefrin-coated pit because on the inside the receptor has clefrin to it. The interaction between clefrin and the receptor-ligand complex causes the membrane to fold inward. For whatever reason, they start to then go together, fold inward, and that way the ligand on the outside of the cell comes in a bit. Now it's inside of the vesicle, inside the cell. Vesicle formation. The edges of the membrane around the clefrin float-coated pit fuse and a portion of the membrane pinches off. The resulting vesicle, known as a clefrin-coated vesicle, contains the receptor-ligand complexes. Right side, there, now we're having a clefrin-coated pit. Uncoating. Almost immediately after it is formed, the clefrin-coated vesicle loses its clefrin coat to become an uncoated vesicle. For whatever reason, it is way around with the clefrin-coated pit. Then the clefrin is lost, and now it's an uncoated vesicle. Now, this is so far we go. Now let's read on. Fusion with early endosome. Was that anyway explained? Okay, fusion with early endosome. Several uncoated vesicles fuse with an early endosome. A vesicle that serves as a sorting compartment. Within an early endosome, ligands separated from the receptors. Ultimately, the contents of an early endosome are either recycled to the plasma membrane or transported to a lysosome and organelle where degradation occurs. Okay, so they seem to come together with other. So several uncoated vesicles come together to the big harbor, the early endosome. That is a vesicle that serves as a sorting compartment. So several of these uncoated vesicles coming together in such an early endosome. Within that early endosome, the ligands, which are there on the inside of the vesicles on the receptors, are getting separated from the receptors. They're not just there, just in the center. Ultimately, the contents of an early endosome are either recycled to the plasma membrane or transported to a lysosome. Okay, they say it can go back to the plasma membrane, and then it just comes back into the plasma membrane, waiting for a next turn, I guess, or it goes somewhere else, degranulation in lysosome. And organelle where degeneration occurs. I think we're going to explain it now in the next point. Recycling of receptors. Many receptors within the early endosome enter a carrier vesicle. Many of the receptors. Okay, just some of them. The carrier vesicle, which buds from the early endosome and returns the receptors to the plasma membrane. Clefrin also is returned to the inner surface of the plasma membrane. But it was the clefrin got lost. How came it back? By itself? Does it find the way itself back? Okay, some of the clefrin comes also back. Okay, something of the early endosome where multiple of these uncoated vesicles have come together, and in the ligands got loosed from the receptors are going on as a carrier vesicle back to the plasma membrane somewhere, and are they again sorted in as receptors, and also the clefrin also comes to them, and they are even showing here that some of these ligands are transported again to the outside. And that makes sense. These are not necessarily the ligands from the outside which the cell has brought with. That could be some which the other uncounted vesicles have brought with them. They could be from somewhere else. Degradation in lysosome. Ligands and their receptors. Destined for degradation in lysosome are transported from the early endosome by one or more carrier vesicle to a late endosome. Okay, from the early endosome, which was the beginning of a sorting point, some are going off as well through a carrier vesicle to such a lysosome. Which is also a late endosome. The late endosome forms other carrier vesicles that fuse with lysosomes. It goes together with other late endosomes, so it becomes from the early carrier late. Ligands destined for degradation in the lysosome are transported from the early endosome by one or more carrier vesicles to a late endosome. The late endosome forms other carrier vesicles that fuse with lysosomes. Within lysosomes are digestive enzymes that break down a variety of large molecules such as proteins, polysaccharides, lipids, and nucleic acids. Maybe we need these substances from the other vesicles to break down the bigger polysaccharides and so on. Okay, there is the early endosome. There are all the uncounted vesicles come in. Some are leaving then as carrier vesicles out to the plasma membrane. Others are going through carrier vesicles to a late endosome. They're again coming together with other, and some of them going then through a carrier vesicle. Not necessarily. Yes, again through a carrier vesicle to become a lysosome. There are then digestive enzymes to break down what is there in transcytosis. In some cases, ligands and receptors undergo transcytosis, a process whereby they are transported across the cell inside carrier vesicles that undergo exocytosis on the opposite side. As the carrier vesicle fuse with the plasma membrane, the vesicular contents are released into the extracellular fluid. Transcytosis occurs most often across the endothelial cells that line blood vessels and is a means for materials to move between blood plasma and interstitial fluid. So some can go to the outside. They have come from somewhere, the cell inside just, to the outside. But could they have come from the outside as well? We didn't say it. Okay, and that way the cells, the endothelial cells which are at the lines at the outside or the surrounding or whatever, on the sides of the blood vessels, help make through that to get materials to move between the blood plasma and the interstitial fluid. Clinical application: viruses and receptor-mediated endocytosis. Although receptor-mediated endocytosis normally imports needed materials, some viruses take advantage of this mechanism to enter and infect body cells. For example, the human immunodeficiency virus HIV, which causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS or AIDS, enter cells by attaching to a receptor called CD4 in the plasma membrane. This receptor is present at the surface of some body cells, such as white blood cells called helper T cells. After binding to CD4, HIV enters the cell via receptor-mediated endocytosis. Okay, HIV is going there to the CD4, which is at some T helper cells in the blood, I think, in the white, which are going to T cells, which are the white blood cells in the blood, I guess. And then they're going then through the receptor-mediated endocytosis. I think they're going as ligands, and not as the ligands. That is not the one specific substance as for it was intended. So it could be also someone else who get there. For example, the HIV virus. So, the ligand is not the one specific substance for which this is intended, but it could be also the HIV virus. It goes there. It goes there for the CD4, whatever, into the cell. Okay. If you were here for cytology, you can go directly to the next part of cytology. There we're going to read in about, I guess, the exocytosis. It was not endocytosis and transcytosis. If you were here for cytology, you can go directly to the next part of cytology. We will continue with cytology if you stay here and participate in the next stretching when it's ready to almost go to the seventh stand, breathe in, reach with the fingertips to the sides. Out and down. In and front. High up and back. And now, arms to the sides, circle around. Change the direction. Arms again down. And tall up, shoulders back, breathe in. Out, turn the head over to one shoulder. Chin down to the shoulder, breathe out. Breathe in, lift the gaze back into the middle, over to the other side. Breathe again in. Out, chin down to the shoulder. Lift the gaze into the middle. Out of your shoulder, breathe out and circle back. Again in. Out and circle back and back into the middle. And hands together, elbows together, breathe in, reach out and down. In and up. Out and down. In the arms back. Out and front. In back. Out and front. Have the feet standing together. Intertwine the fingers behind the back. Tall up, shoulders back, breathe in. Breathe out, turn the head over to one shoulder, chin onto the shoulder, and pull the hands down to the ground. Breathe in, lift the gaze, and over to the other side. Chin onto the shoulder, breathe out, pull the hands onto the ground. In, lift the gaze, into the middle. Leg shoulder wide apart, intertwine the fingers behind the back. Bring over to one side, taller, shoulders back, breathe in. And out, head over to one shoulder, chin onto the shoulder, pull the other shoulder in and down. Lift the gaze, out to the other side, hands out to the other side. Breathe in. Out, chin onto the shoulder, pull the other arm in and down. Lift the gaze, L. And have the feet standing together, one arm behind the back. In the other one up. And out, bring the head over to the side. Breathe in. Out, look to the hand on top of the head. Hand down. Other arm up. Breathe in. Out, the head over, down, pull at the head. Breathe in. Out, look up. And head down. In, arms up. Lean back, out the chest to the sky. In, up. Out and back. In, up. Hands together, lean back. In, up. Out to the side. In, middle. The other one. Middle. Intertwine the fingers, reach high. Breathe out, reach in front, hold the back. In, up, change intertwining. Out in front. In, up. Back with long arms, draw the elbows together. Back, draw the shoulder blades together, elbows down. In and up. Out, lean back with long arms. In and up. Hands down, hands up. Hands to touch and lower down towards center. That was the next stretching. I thank you very much and next time.